So here is Munson at Ocala International, heading down the center line for the 3-star long, working on staying nice and straight, and coming to the trot transition. Now, in a couple of seconds, my phone's going to kind of glitch because I had a camera issue, I guess. You'll see we're going to come across the diagonal here for our medium trot, which I can do rising. And then unfortunately, we're going to miss my shoulder in work. And oops, kind of bumped the board there, but he stayed focused enough. And now I'm in my walk work. So in the trot work, we had to do shoulder in, down the long side, half 10-meter circle, half 10-meter circle to another shoulder in. But sadly, not on camera. Into our halt. Back up 4 steps. Kind of dropped his head a little bit. Now working for our extended walk. Munson sometimes can be a little tricky because he can be quiet, but then sometimes his focus leaves some, so I always have to remind him a little bit to stay with me and stay focused, and you're okay. Now I'm going to shorten up my reins, but I'm not going to do it too much because he knows the canter is coming, so you see he did it a smidge early. Little stinker. And now we go into our medium canter. And he's pretty fit, so I didn't really want to kind of push that too much. I just am going for a nice steady round. He did a good 10-meter circle there. And then crossing the diagonal, P, X, S, and I canter walk over at X. He's getting stronger about those. He's finally starting to learn to sit a little bit better, but then that means sometimes he gets a little up through the front, but it's coming. He's getting stronger and stronger. In our 10-meter circle. Maybe wasn't super accurate with my circle. Sometimes those are hard. Cross the diagonal into our canter walk. It's pretty quick, though he's getting those. And down to our trot transition. And now we have to do our half pass left. So I'm going to position him. And try to make sure I have the shoulders leading and the haunch is kind of crossing right over. That was pretty good. I'm going to make sure I try to get into those corners. And now half pass. He's still kind of, every now and then, he wants to kind of wiggle his nose some, but it's still fairly decent. And now we're almost done. This is what I kind of tell myself. We're almost done. We just have the stretchy trot left. I'm able to kind of relax the reins, and he stays in the same trot rhythm. Actually gave me a really nice stretch. And then make sure I keep my leg on when I pick him back up for our final turn down the center line. And prepare for our halt. You see I gave him a little bump and he stepped up square. So I was really proud. It was a nice, solid test. Then moving on to cross country, which was a stark contrast to how it was in the morning. It was pouring buckets of rain, and we were very lucky to have such an amazing ground crew and organization to make sure there was a delay, but they did a great job of making sure the cross country was up and ready for us to go. And I was last in the division on Munson, so I had to be mindful of how footing was in certain spots. And he's quite different from Sharpie, as I can kind of let him come out of the box a little quicker. He likes to kind of get going somewhere and find his own rhythm a little bit. He doesn't really want you to tell him too much what to do. It really has to be on Munson's idea, and you just have to be there to support him sometimes and hold his hand. So we're coming to that 5-stride houses, which I made sure I got the 5 after I had ridden sharps and done 6. And you see, he spooked a little bit at the people there, and I had to say, hey, let's not go too far off our line there, bud. Heading to this big table. And I actually wanted to jump it a little left to right because I really wanted to bring him down to a very slow canter. Horses were having actually lots of refusals here and making the footing kind of disappear. And you'll see that footing really kind of just sunk a little bit at the base there. And so he was a very good boy to go. Even with his confidence sometimes, I was proud of him because he used to have a really hard water issue. And now coming to the angled 2-stride. He jumps that just lovely. And then I am able to kind of press him on a little bit. Now my thought process with him was to kind of let him move along. He's nice and fit. And I knew I needed to take some time with certain combinations to really let him read it and go a little slower. So I wanted to make sure that I had kind of enough time up on the clock for that. Coming to that table wasn't quite as pretty as it was with sharps. It was a little bit of an off distance, and I was kind of waiting for the chip in, and Munson said, we're taking off now. So I actually gave him a pat on the neck, told him, good boy. Any chance I can, when he is willing to kind of take me to it, I'm happy for it. And then heading to a chevron here. You know, he's starting to really develop into a very confident cross-country horse. So it's been really fun seeing how he's gotten so much braver and really going out and attacking things for me. Now we're heading to the blue ramp. And now I can let him really kind of move on here to the next big table, number 12. He has such an amazing ground covering stride. It's pretty fun to ride. And I'm also making sure I'm staying pretty tight with my lines, cutting the seconds where I can. Again, get a really good shot to that table. And then we head to the ditch and wall, which he jumps that pretty good. And then we headed to the mounds, and it's very rideable through there. And then on to the next chicaner, which is another log with a ditch underneath it. And he jumps this really good. And I can kind of just say, hey buddy, stay tight here. And we made a nice tight turn, so I didn't lose any time off that turn. Heading down towards the coffin, which we had a chevron to a ditch to another angled 2-stride table. And he did that very spot on, really nice and accurate. And then heading along here, his ears are pricked, happy to be going on. Heading to this rail oxer here. I had to take kind of one too many. I had to decelerate a little bit, but heading to this next water, I have to balance a little bit. I made a pretty tight, quick turn here. We got in snug, and I tried to go, but he stood off a little bit on the white, so I took a tug, and he ended up breaking to the trot, but jumped it quite nicely. I always think it's very important to teach our horses to jump the jumps with confidence at the lower speeds, walking and trotting, because you never know when you got to use it. And it's really helped Munson with his confidence. Now heading towards the back loop, where we had another table, And then to a 4-strided corner, which he was pretty spot on. And then for our last combination, which I had to make sure that I was pretty slow to because it was a tight 2-stride set on 33 feet. And now coming to the last fence, make sure I get a good distance, and then I can just let him move along, and he's got plenty of gas in the tank and accelerates and then comes right back and listens. So super proud. He jumped around there great and made inside the time to move up. Coming into show jump with Munson, he actually moved up to 6th from 12th after going clean cross country, double clear. So we actually had to show jump on the grass because there was so much rain it actually affected the footing in the arenas. So luckily for us, being down here in Ocala, the footing is great. It can take a lot of rain because it's got the sandy base on it. So heading on down to the first fence, I wanted to make sure I had my pace. I see a good spot, and I just hear him just clobber the first rail, and I was like, oh, I had almost the same exact ride on Sharpie, so sometimes I can be too consistent in the wrong ways, I think. So I thought, okay, get your kick in the pants, and I rode the 8 a little better than I did on Sharpie because I had added on that line before. And heading to the Buckeye, and he actually pushed off and was trying. I thought, he's trying today. Came to this triple, and he jumped beautifully through that. And I was like, well done, bud. All right. Coming to the vertical, again, jumping that pretty well. And then I really wanted the balance, and I added here. He jumped up and over the oxer, which was a great feeling from Munson. Sometimes he just kind of stops following through and drops his hind end and feels like he doesn't even try, but he's really stepping up to the plate. Heading to the final line, and then he locks onto an oxer to my right, and I was just trying to get his attention, but we both kind of panicked, had that rail, getting closer to that clean round. So we ended up moving into 8th place, and I was super pleased with him, how he was completing his first 3-star long.